Most people sabotage their own wealth before it even begins. They talk, they announce plans, they explain ambitions to anyone willing to listen. They believe visibility creates opportunity. In reality, visibility creates resistance. The masses cannot tolerate silent advancement. They monitor, compare, interfere. The moment you reveal movement, you invite friction. Opinions appear. Advice multiplies. Jealousy sharpens its teeth. The majority leaks information about themselves constantly. Their desires, their strategies, their fears, their next move. They confuse exposure with power. It is not. The minority who understands power operates differently. They move quietly. They reduce their profile. They control what is seen and what is hidden. They treat attention as a liability, not a reward. They understand a brutal law. The less people know about your direction, the less they can obstruct it. This is not philosophy for comfort. This is the architecture of power. Niccolò Machiavelli observed the world without illusions. He did not write about what people should do. He wrote about what they actually do when status, wealth, and survival are on the table. He understood perception governs reality, and he left a principle that still exposes the weakness of the masses. As he wrote, "Men in general judge more by the eyes than by the hands, for everyone can see, but few can feel. People judge what is visible, so control what is visible and hide the rest. Look carefully at your own behavior. Every time you revealed a plan too early, something happened. A colleague suddenly competed. A friend questioned your direction. A supervisor delayed your progress. You explained your intentions, hoping for understanding. Instead, you created awareness. Awareness creates resistance. You reacted when challenged. You defended your plans. You tried to clarify your thinking to people who had no authority over your future. In that moment, you surrendered position. Powerful individuals do the opposite. They remove themselves from unnecessary visibility. They speak less about ambition. They reduce explanations. They allow others to underestimate them. Silence becomes a weapon. Presence becomes selective. Disappearance becomes strategic. When they build something, wealth, influence, leverage, it happens behind closed doors. By the time the result appears, the structure is already finished. This is how control is maintained. You do not explain your strategy. You allow the outcome to explain it for you. Understand the game through a simple metaphor. Imagine two players on a chessboard. One player narrates every move. I will advance this piece. I will attack that square. I plan to control the center. The other player says nothing. He studies the board. He moves slowly. He hides his intention. Which player wins? The one who controls information. Wealth operates the same way. The loud player spends energy announcing ambition. The silent player accumulates position. By the time the board is understood, the game is already decided. Invisibility is not weakness. It is insulation. It removes unnecessary conflict. It eliminates interference. It allows strategy to mature before exposure destroys it. The masses cannot resist commenting on what they see, so remove yourself from sight. Control your image. Reveal less. Move slower in public, faster in private. Let others chase attention while you accumulate leverage. If you understand this principle, you have already stepped outside the behavior of the majority. Because this is not a lifestyle preference. It is the dividing line between rulers and the ruled. The ruled seek recognition. The rulers seek position. Recognition is immediate. Position compounds. You have listened this far. That already places you outside the impatient crowd. Now, bind the principle. Write this oath in the comments and make it a discipline. I reject the hunger for attention. I move in silence. I control what is seen. I build before I reveal. My wealth grows where no one is watching. Then act accordingly. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is strategy. And in the long game of power, the invisible hand is usually the one holding the throne. The first leak of power is exposure, not failure, not lack of effort. Exposure. Most people reveal themselves too early. They speak about plans, ambitions, future moves. They believe talking creates alignment. They assume transparency and produces support. This is the illusion of the naive. The world does not operate through goodwill. It operates through perception, status, and self-interest. The moment you reveal direction, you create a signal. Others begin measuring their own position against yours. Comparison begins. Calculation follows. A colleague hears your ambition and quietly adjusts their behavior. A supervisor hears confidence and interprets it as impatience. Another employee hears opportunity and prepares to intercept it. No one announces this process. It happens silently. Attention attracts interference. The majority misunderstands the environment they operate in. They treat professional spaces as cooperative arenas. In reality, most systems are competitive ecosystems disguised as collaboration. Every visible ambition becomes a coordinate on a map. Once the map exists, others begin navigating it. Consider the common situation inside organizations. An employee casually mentions their intention to move into leadership. They frame it as motivation. They share it during meetings, conversations, even informal gatherings. At first, nothing appears to happen, but information travels. Colleagues begin adjusting alliances. Someone positions themselves closer to decision makers. Another begins highlighting the employee's weaknesses. A supervisor quietly slows opportunities, testing loyalty or patience. The promotion path becomes crowded before the race even begins. The employee created resistance simply by announcing direction. Strategic individuals understand a harsher rule. Movement is safest when it is invisible. They do not discuss long-term ambitions. They speak only about current responsibilities. Operational language replaces personal disclosure. They reduce signals. They remove unnecessary explanations. They allow others to believe nothing significant is happening. While observers relax, positioning continues quietly. Influence grows in the background. This restraint is not passivity. It is discipline. Power requires controlling what others can see. The visible individual becomes predictable. The predictable individual becomes manageable. The invisible one remains unmeasured. Remember the rule. Attention attracts interference. The moment you reveal the map, the terrain fills with enemies. Most people are obsessed with appearing impressive. They display intelligence in every conversation. They compete to sound sharper, faster, more dominant. They believe visibility of competence produces authority. In reality, excessive signaling produces something else. Surveillance. The moment others perceive you as a rising force, their attention locks onto you. Every decision is examined. Every mistake becomes ammunition. Every success triggers comparison and rivalry. Powerful environments operate on threat detection. Anyone who appears too capable too quickly becomes a problem to be monitored. The loud professional does not realize this. They present ideas aggressively. They correct others in meetings. They demonstrate expertise at every opportunity. Their intention is to prove value. Instead, they create tension. Soon they are surrounded by scrutiny. Colleagues test them. Managers measure them. Rivals prepare quiet resistance. The noise attracted predators. Now observe the opposite pattern. Another individual speaks little. They contribute when necessary but avoid intellectual theater. They do not rush to dominate discussions. They allow others to believe they are merely competent, not dangerous. Attention slides past them. While others compete for recognition, this individual studies the structure of the room. They identify alliances, weaknesses, incentives. They build relationships quietly. They expand skill privately. They accumulate information others never thought to guard. Months pass, sometimes years. Then suddenly their position becomes clear. Influence appears already consolidated. Resources are already aligned. Opportunities already belong to them. Observers react too late. Underestimation created freedom of movement. This is not humility. It is camouflage. Reduce signals of ambition. Avoid the performance of intelligence. Let others believe they understand your limits. Meanwhile, expand capability where no one is watching, because the dangerous player is not the loud one. The dangerous player is the one no one thought to watch. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is control. Most people cannot tolerate it. The moment tension appears in a room, they rush to fill the gap with explanations. They clarify their intentions. They justify their decisions. They reveal the logic behind every move. They believe transparency creates trust. In reality, transparency creates predictability, and predictability is a strategic liability. Power grows through asymmetry, one side knowing more than the other. The moment you explain your thinking, you erase that advantage. You convert mystery into data, and data becomes leverage in the hands of others. Modern culture encourages constant explanation. Leaders must explain. Employees must justify. Partners must reveal their reasoning so everyone feels comfortable. Comfort is not a strategic objective. Control is. Consider the behavior of an inexperienced business partner. In meetings, they reveal every step of their thinking. They describe long-term goals. They outline potential moves. They explain why certain decisions will happen next quarter or next year. They believe this level of openness demonstrates intelligence and cooperation. What it actually creates is a blueprint. Competitors listen quietly. They adjust pricing. They accelerate development. They intercept opportunities before the original strategy unfolds. The partner wonders why progress keeps collapsing. The answer is simple. Their strategy was visible before it was protected. Experienced operators behave differently. They speak in fragments. They answer what is necessary and leave the rest unspoken. They allow others to speculate rather than confirm. Ambiguity becomes armor. When questioned about direction, they respond operationally, not strategically. They discuss immediate steps, not long-term architecture. They provide enough clarity to function, but never enough to expose position. Silence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty slows opponents. It forces them to guess, and guessing consumes their energy. Understand the rule. Every explanation gives others a handle to pull. Power begins with internal governance. Before controlling others, one must control the visible signals of the self-reactions: tone, impulse, ego. Most people fail at this first discipline. They believe authenticity requires expression. If they feel challenged, they respond immediately. If they feel misunderstood, they explain themselves. If they feel disrespected, they react. They mistake emotional expression for strength. In reality, every reaction leaks information. A raised voice signals pressure. A defensive explanation signals vulnerability. A quick rebuttal signals urgency. Observers read these signals with precision. They do not need your strategy if your emotions reveal it. Consider a negotiation table. One participant challenges a proposal. The other responds instantly, voice tight, words rushed, eager to defend the logic of the plan. In that moment, the negotiation shifts. The challenger now understands something valuable. The proposal matters deeply to the other side. The urgency is visible. The attachment is exposed. Leverage moves. The silent counterpart behaves differently. The same challenge appears. No immediate reaction follows. No defensive explanation. The face remains still. The response arrives slowly, controlled, stripped of emotion. Uncertainty fills the space. The challenger now lacks information. Is the proposal essential? Is it flexible? Is there another plan already waiting? Silence protects position. Internal governance is not suppression, it is command. The disciplined individual allows no involuntary signal to escape. Facial expressions remain neutral. Voice remains measured. Responses arrive only after observation. Provocation becomes a test, not a trigger. Most people fail this test instantly. Their ego demands recognition. Their emotions demand expression. Their reactions expose their priorities before they realize it. The strategist does not participate in this chaos. They rule themselves first, because the rule is absolute. He who cannot govern his reactions will always reveal his strategy. Strategic disappearance is a discipline most people cannot tolerate. They crave visibility. They measure progress by how often they are seen, heard, or acknowledged. If they are not present in conversations, meetings, networks, or online platforms, they fear they are falling behind. This fear drives constant exposure. They attend every event. They post every achievement. They broadcast every project, every effort, every intention. To them, activity must be visible, to be real. But visibility is often a substitute for progress. Energy that should be directed toward building leverage is redirected toward maintaining presence. Attention becomes the objective instead of the byproduct. The crowd performs advancement in public arenas. They display effort like actors on a stage. They accumulate applause but little structural power. Meanwhile, the strategist exits the stage. They reduce appearances. They withdraw from unnecessary discussions. They decline invitations that serve visibility but not position. Their absence becomes noticeable only because others are accustomed to constant noise. During that absence, something important happens. Time and attention return to their proper function. Capital compounds quietly. Skills deepen without interruption. Partnerships form outside public scrutiny. Systems are built that do not depend on external validation. By the time the strategist reappears, the outcome is already solid. Now, consider two professionals. One spends years cultivating an online persona of ambition. Updates, announcements, commentary, an endless signal of effort. The other says little. No declarations, no constant visibility. Years pass. One has recognition. The other has assets. Strategic disappearance is not withdrawal from reality. It is withdrawal from observation while construction is underway. Limit signals of ambition. Reduce unnecessary appearances. Let silence surround the process. Visibility should follow results, not precede them. Remember the rule. While the crowd performs progress, the strategist manufactures it. Power does not require spectacle. It requires control of perception. Most people misunderstand this principle. They believe success must look impressive. They assume authority must constantly display intelligence, confidence, and direction. So they expose everything. They explain their vision in detail. They showcase their abilities. They reveal the depth of their plans in order to appear capable and decisive. What they actually create is a fully visible structure, and a visible structure can be studied, measured, and attacked. Real power hides its substance behind an ordinary image. The strategist understands that perception is a mask, not a mirror. What others see is curated carefully, calm, neutral, unremarkable. Nothing that provokes alarm, nothing that invites investigation. Under that surface, strategy moves. Consider the quiet leader inside an organization. In public meetings, they appear measured and simple. They do not dominate conversations. They rarely display the full range of their thinking. Their tone remains neutral, almost understated. Observers assume they are merely stable and competent. Meanwhile, decisions are being shaped elsewhere. Alliances form quietly. Financial shifts occur through controlled channels. Key positions are filled by individuals already aligned with the leader's long-term structure. By the time the organization realizes what has happened, the architecture is complete. Influence did not appear suddenly. It was simply hidden. This is the discipline of controlling image while concealing substance. Maintain a simple exterior. Avoid intellectual theater. Allow others to believe they have measured your capacity. Misjudgment becomes your shield, because when opponents underestimate your depth, they stop looking for the fortress. And the most secure fortress is the one no one believes exists. Wealth grows fastest in silence. The moment money becomes visible, pressure begins to form around it. Not through force, but through expectation. Society observes signals of success and responds with quiet demands. Upgrade the lifestyle, display the reward, demonstrate status. Most people obey this pressure immediately. The first increase in income is followed by visible consumption, better cars, larger homes, public signs that progress has occurred. They believe these signals confirm their rise. In reality, they have just exposed a resource. Visible wealth attracts attention the same way. Exposed ambition attracts resistance. People begin calculating your capacity. Friends adjust their expectations. Family members present new needs. Social circles expand toward your perceived advantage. Money that should compound now begins leaking outward, not always through conflict, often through subtle obligations. A dinner paid here, a loan offered there, an investment suggestion from someone who suddenly sees opportunity in your success. None of it appears dangerous in isolation, but the structure changes. The moment wealth becomes part of your identity, the environment begins extracting from it. Now observe the individual who chooses invisibility instead. Income increases quietly. Lifestyle remains controlled. The same modest routines continue while capital accumulates beneath the surface. No visible upgrades, no public signals of financial expansion. Observers assume stability, not acceleration. Years pass. The invisible accumulator compounds resources without interference. Investments grow without social pressure. Decisions remain insulated from the expectations of others. When wealth finally becomes visible, it is no longer fragile. It has already hardened into structure, assets, leverage, independence. At that point, external pressure arrives too late. The foundation is already secured. The disciplined behavior is simple. Conceal financial progress. Avoid early lifestyle inflation. Separate wealth from appearance during the growth phase. Because the rule remains constant. Displayed wealth invites extraction. Timing determines whether visibility strengthens power or destroys it. Most people reveal themselves too early. The moment they begin progress, they feel the urge to announce it. They want recognition, validation, confirmation that they are moving forward. So they speak. They describe the project. They outline the idea. They explain what they are building and where it will lead. They believe early attention will generate support. What it actually generates is competition. Once the idea becomes visible, it enters the open field. Others examine it. Faster operators replicate it. Larger players absorb it. Opponents prepare obstacles before the structure is finished. The original architect suddenly finds their advantage disappearing. Not because the idea was weak, because it was exposed before it was protected. Consider the common mistake of the inexperienced entrepreneur. A concept emerges something new, promising, full of potential leverage. Instead of building quietly, they begin broadcasting the concept. Conversations, presentations, social platforms, endless explanations of what is coming. Observers listen carefully. Some pretend to support the idea while studying its mechanics. Others carry fragments of the concept to stronger organizations capable of executing it faster. Months later, the entrepreneur discovers a familiar pattern. Someone else is already in the market. The strategist behaves differently. They build in silence. Development happens privately. Resources are secured before exposure. Partnerships are aligned before the idea becomes public knowledge. Only when the structure is stable does visibility appear. By that moment, the position cannot be reversed. Competitors may notice the move, but the architecture is already operational. The opportunity has been captured. Visibility then becomes useful, not as a signal of ambition, but as confirmation of victory. Remember the rule: visibility is a weapon, but only when the battle is already won. Most people believe influence requires constant presence. They respond quickly. They stay available. They maintain continuous communication so others never feel uncertainty. They mistake accessibility for strength. In reality, constant presence removes tension from the environment. It allows others to observe you, measure you, and predict you. When your responses are immediate and reliable, your behavior becomes easy to manage. Predictability eliminates leverage. Absence creates the opposite condition. When a person withdraws deliberately when response is slow, appearances become rare, communication becomes selective, observers begin filling the silence with speculation, questions appear, calculations begin. Why did they step back? What are they doing? What move is coming next? Uncertainty spreads through the room. This uncertainty shifts psychological pressure away from you and onto them. Consider a negotiation environment. One side responds to every message instantly. Every concern receives a quick explanation. Every demand is answered with immediate clarification. Their availability communicates eagerness. The opposing side recognizes the signal. Pressure increases. Demands multiply. Now reverse the behavior. The negotiator pauses. Responses arrive later. Some questions remain unanswered. Meetings are delayed. Communication becomes sparse and measured. The other side now faces silence. Without constant feedback, they begin guessing. Are they losing the deal? Is the other party negotiating elsewhere? Has the offer already been replaced? Anxiety grows. Often, concessions appear without being requested. Absence produced pressure where presence could not. This is the discipline of psychological distance. Not disappearing randomly, but withdrawing with control. Reducing accessibility so others cannot comfortably measure your intentions. Your silence becomes a mirror. In that mirror, others reveal their urgency, their fear, their impatience. Because the rule is simple. Silence forces others to reveal themselves. Invisibility marks the boundary between those who are controlled and those who control. Most people live on the visible side of that boundary. They reveal themselves constantly. Opinions, habits, ambitions, frustrations, routines. They believe expression is a form of freedom. They assume that openness proves confidence and authenticity. In reality, constant expression creates a pattern, and patterns are easy to manage. When your behavior is visible, others begin mapping it. They study what motivates you, what angers you, what you pursue, what you avoid. Over time, your decisions become predictable. Predictable individuals are easy to influence. This is why institutions quietly encourage visibility. Systems benefit when people reveal themselves. The more information available, the easier it becomes to anticipate reactions and guide behavior. Nowhere is this more obvious than in the modern environment of social platforms. Individuals broadcast their thoughts daily. They share professional ambitions, financial goals, emotional reactions, even their daily routines. They believe they are building identity and influence. What they are actually building is a detailed profile of themselves. Employers observe personality and temperament. Competitors identify priorities and vulnerabilities. Organizations track patterns that reveal how a person responds under pressure. Over time, the individual becomes transparent. Transparent people cannot maneuver. The strategist operates on the opposite side of the boundary. They treat information about themselves as strategic currency. It is not released casually. Every disclosure has a purpose. Every visible trait is selected carefully. Most of their structure remains hidden. This asymmetry creates advantage. While others reveal their thinking, the strategist observes. While others expose their priorities, the strategist collects data quietly. Observation replaces expression. Control replaces exposure. The environment fills with visible actors competing for attention. Meanwhile, the observer studies the board, because the rule never changes. The one who is watched loses the game to the one who watches. Time becomes your ally because no one sees the construction taking place. And when visibility finally arrives, it no longer matters what others think. The foundation is already complete. The position is already secured. The outcome no longer depends on approval, cooperation, or recognition. This is the quiet architecture of power, not loud ambition, not dramatic declarations. Discipline. The discipline to rule yourself before attempting to rule the game. If you have listened this far, it means something inside you recognizes the pattern. The instinct to stop performing. The instinct to step back from exposure and operate with control. Very few people reach this point. Fewer still act on it. So bind the principle to your own mind. Write it. Repeat it. Make it a rule of conduct. I reject the hunger for recognition. I control my image, my reactions, and my presence. My strategy grows in silence. My wealth compounds beyond observation, and I reveal nothing until the game is already won.